Hello Internet, I'm Guy. Recently, a guy reached out to me from Western Canada who had an antique clock that was very valuable to him, both as intrinsic value and for his own experience of it, because it was an important gift that he'd been given some time ago when he had retired. He had seen a video that I had done repairing antique hinges for a desk, and he thought maybe I would be the right guy to repair the hinges on his clock. That's why he sent me all of these pictures that I've been showing you, so I could get a clear understanding of what was involved. Based on those pictures, I've decided to take this project on. So let's jump right in. Here's the clock face and the broken hinge. As you can see, it's badly damaged. It looked like someone had tried to solder some parts on there. But the way it goes, it clips on there like that, and then will screw into the clock body with these screws here, and it'll hinge like that. So it looks like, I can use this big chunk of brass that I purchased just for this project. I can cut this off right here and then just machine this out and figure out how to solve the hinge part itself as I go. First step, make a cut. Okay, that's looking pretty close. I'm going to take a little bit off right along here, one more pass to get it to fit in there, and then we'll start machining the rest of it. So I've decided to cut off the excess on my bandsaw, and I've already marked where I think the profiles are for machining. This little dot right here is where I'm going to drill the hole all the way through the hinges. So let's get this held kind of safely like that. Okay, that looks pretty close to what we need. A quick cleanup on that bandsaw cut. We'll get a nice clean edge as a reference edge, and then I'm going to start cutting the slots out. Starting at this end, and I'm going to open up all three slots to a known depth and width to match the original hinge. Okay, so I've got the basic shape cut out, and now what I need to do is drill a hole through there to mimic this hole for the original hinge pin. So I'm going to mark it right there. I have it already marked. I'm going to drill all the way down through these two sections here, which is going to be tricky. I think the drill bit might want to wander a bit. So I'm starting with a centering drill to get that centered up and a good starting hole for the actual drill. And then the drill bit I'm using here is somewhat larger than the hinge pins, so there's a bit of wiggle room and compliance in the whole thing, and I think that's what the original designer and fabricator did as well. So you see, I'm just going right through this brass. Brass is a very amenable material. So now I'm going to be removing layers of this bulk material to get it down to just the flange that will have the screw holes in it, the countersunk screw holes to secure it to the clock. So several passes, as you can see. I'm kind of skipping through some of that. I'm doing passes in one direction, and then what I do is a spring pass back in the other direction now that it's really thin, because it will have bumped out of the way a little bit. The second pass as a climb cut just makes a cleaner cut. Okay, so I've got this wall thickness here down to about this thickness here. I give it a little extra just to have some more room for the screw hole here. So now I'm going to take off some of the metal here because I've got too much sticking out right there. So I'm going to have to figure out how to jig this up so I can just mill off some of that, and then I'll be close to having a basic shape where our next step will be to drill out these two holes here, these two holes. So I did a quick rough cut on the bandsaw, and I'm just going to machine that down a bit to the line. Okay, so here's the old hinge and the new one. And if I line it up with the cover plate here, this drops in and lines up just fine. So now, of course, it'll swivel like that eventually. What I need to do now is go in and cut out the recess here, which is basically what the original guy did. He cut a slot there, and then he soldered on something here to trap the whole hinge. It's kind of an interesting concept that this basically kind of drops in like that and then swivels around. So I'm just trying to replicate that. Okay, so I've got a Dremel cutter in my 1/8 inch collet, and I'm hoping that this is going to work out just fine for slitting this out. Let's see how it plays. Well, I'm pretty pleased with that. Now I'm just going to raise the cutter head up a bit to open up that shape right there, and I think we'll be good. Okay, hopefully final pass here. I've been making multiple different height passes. Okay, so I've got the slots relieved in there, so now it'll slide onto the hinge, and it looks like it's going to make the movement. So now I just need to round everything over a little bit, and I think this is going to work out just fine. I lost audio here, but what I'm doing obviously is drilling one of the 2 holes that mounts the whole hinge part to the clock, and now just countersinking them out with a countersinking bit. Here's where the hinge is at, and obviously it looks a great deal like the original. What's interesting about it is, of course, it has to hook onto the hinge pins, so it comes up like that and then it's trapped, but it can easily fall off. So what the original guy did is he soldered on a couple of little tabs there to stop it from sliding off. So what I've done is I've made a couple of little tiny L-shaped tabs here that I'm going to glue on with some glue or some adhesive tape or something, and that will then prevent it from being able to slide out. So I did originally think about soldering these on, but it's too iffy to do that. So I'm just going to clean this up and do a final finish on it to make it look more like the antique clock. So now for the antiquing process. I've got it held in a pair of hemostats here, and eventually I'm going to dunk it in this Brownell's Oxo Blue, which is gun bluing. What that will do is give it an oxide layer that will make it look more antique-y looking. And so I'm going to take a little cotton wool first and clean everything off with some denatured alcohol, because even the slightest fingerprint will show if you don't get this super clean. Okay, so now I've got that there. It's cleaned off. Now I'm just going to drop it right in there for a little bit. Swirl it around, get it fully covered. And eventually we'll start to see a change in the tone. It's already darkening. Yeah, let me just swirl it around a bit more. That's it right there. That's all it needed. Clean that off with fresh water. And you can see now that the color tone here has matched as close as one can get to antique brass. I think that's pretty decent. So I'm going to dry this off, and then I'll have to attach those little tabs I was talking about. And I think I'm about done. I have some very sticky, thin, double-sided tape here that came with a product of some kind. So I'm going to make some little strips here and put those on the back. Probably about that size. If I can get this to go off of there, let me pick it up with my hemostats, because then I can hold it better. And then just stick it right on there. Like that. Now, get an X-Acto knife here and take that tape off. There. Probably like that. Okay, I want to stick that right about here. You know what? Maybe I need to put it on here. Okay, so I'm going to come on like this. Oops, just dropped something. Yeah, this has got to go on right there. Well, look at that. I nailed it. Right there. That got it. Okay. So now if I peel this one off too, I think that's it. Okay, put this one over here. Right up against the hinge pin, right there. Okay, hinge functional, I believe. Yep, that is it. So here's the before and after. Obviously the before is quite broken, and the after should work fine.